Hello, hello, hello. What is happening? Unblinded movement. Thank you once again for being here with us as we start our week. And we almost start the intro over. It's all good. We're excited. It's Ecosystem Merger Monday. And it's also June 1st. It's June 1st, 2020. And what a year it has been. It has been craziness, shifting, agile, movement, innovation. And this is the month. This is the halfway mark. Here is the opportunity on Ecosystem Merger Monday, June 1st, to discuss the fact that these next 30 days are the tipping point for the rest of the year. So for all of us that are entrepreneurial, working on numbers, figuring out our process mastery, our 3Ms, what are we measuring? What are we monitoring? What are we managing? My question to you on this Ecosystem Merger Monday is, what ecosystems are we counting? What are we measuring overall within our business? And how can we make June 1st in these next 30 days the catapult to what we do here together on the part of the Unblinded movement? And footnote, as I saw Vaughn drop the first comment in the chat, I know nothing about this, but I trust Vaughn and his saying of this. It looks like we will all need to upgrade our Zoom accounts. We want to make sure we stay here together. So if you're on your phone or on your desktop, take some time today to update. The last thing you want to do is try to jump on and freak out because nothing's working, because of technology, because we all love technology until it doesn't work. But for now, it's June 1st, Ecosystem Merger Monday. Sean Callaghy, you look like you're going skiing or you're just about to go scuba diving. I don't know what's going on, man, but you look like you're happy and in your zone. What's up, brother?
So, hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here on Ecosystem Merger and Mastery Monday. Thank you for being a kindred spirit. Thank you for being committed to your growth and development. Thank you for contributing to this ecosystem. And yeah, so just coming off the mastery program call, thank you to all those amazing folks that are there so beautifully consistently. Hearing Dimple's voice from across the pond and all these other remarkable people. Also, Fernando and everybody had a beautiful 6 a.m. call, 7 a.m. call, then that call, and then got a little bit of ocean time. It's a brisk 58.3 degrees this morning. So that will certainly wake you up and get yourself going. But yeah, so that's what is present for me, coming off the beach, coming off the ocean, and having had some calls with beautiful, incredible people, including you, Fernando. So how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. And I just want to set the record straight, because every time Sean talks about like the ocean, it's always like this cool guy story of 58 degrees, jumping in. But I have a memory of Sean and I on Miami Beach with like 6 people, beautiful memory. We're in the middle of meditation in front of the ocean, 6 feet away. Sean completely fell asleep, uncool. I remember opening my eyes, looking at him, wondering what yoga pose is he in. Totally arched over, but he was not in yoga pose. He was totally knocked out looking at the ocean. So that is literally like that, with like 6 people all holding hands, knocked out. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. So interesting day. So yes, good morning to everybody. We're going to keep it tight in the huddles, keep spreading the word. We're looking to cut down to 20 minutes. I know we went long the other day, eventually getting to 15 so that everybody can check in every day. We have people that are here every day, but we're going to run some optics on seeing if it fits a little bit better and we can get some massive impact and cutting ourselves to 15 to 20. So 20 for today is the outcome. So there's a lot of things happening in the world. We touched on it briefly on Friday. I would be remiss if we didn't check back in on, like, how are you? We have friends that are in cities. I was talking to Jessica yesterday, that is a dear friend to Unblinded. And Jessica was saying she was out to dinner and the police like came to the restaurant and they're like leave. She's like, are like the rioters coming? And they're like, yes. So this is alive and present in American cities, and incredible things are happening. And we did a bit of a treatment on this topic on Friday, but I'll share. And one day this week, we're going to bring Tyler, my son, back in, and he had some really interesting perspectives from his age group. Tyler has spanned the political spectrum in his beliefs during his brief life already. Is a deep student of political science, history, sociology, psychology. And so one of the things that was just popping at its most basic is for all of us to remember, as these things happen, regardless of where we sit on the political spectrums, that right now there's pain, there's cries for help, there was an outrageous and insane injustice that occurred. I'm very confident we can all align on that. And I was speaking to a family member yesterday who was, sort of moving into the like, yeah, these people, and, they think they could use this as an excuse for, and it's a beautiful soul. And my loving, empathetic question was like, hey, yeah, like I'm present to that feeling and I have empathy for your feeling concern, but like, who are they? Like, who's they? It's like, these people, like, who are these people? Like, in every city, there's different people that are engaged in conduct. Some of them peaceful, some of them lightning bolt-ish, some of them lightning bolt plus, but there's not like one person. There's nobody individually doing anything. There's no leader of like, hey, let's riot and loot, right? There's dynamics that are at play that are incredibly complicated that lead to cries for help and how they manifest, right? Number one. Number two, when I was chatting with Tyler over the weekend, he was referring to one of the greatest acts of civil or a great act of civil unrest, that if the winners write the history books, right? So in this situation, if there was a different victor, the history book would call it a rebellious uprising that was put down, potentially terroristic, right? Which would be called the Boston Tea Party. So like people were upset, and they weren't upset about a death. They were upset about a minor, tiny tax on tea. So, and with that minor, tiny tax on tea, they went out and they took stuff that didn't belong to them. They destroyed it, dumping it into the harbor. And it was very aggressive. It was destructive. And is considered by many of us from grade school and beyond that live in the US to be a brilliant and beautiful story of the beginning of rebellion and people taking a stand and saying, no, like not anymore. Like this is not happening. So what I'm sharing right now is in no way, shape, or form an articulation that people have died in the unrest that is occurring. People have died, and that's bad, right? People dying is bad. And people die as problems are solved. So like wars are fought, rebellions occur, and sometimes the outcome is not in a higher vibration, and many times it is. So I have no solution except to hopefully continue to move towards an elevation of the dialogue, and us collectively elevating the dialogue beyond like police are bad, or looters are horrible. And like, it's a lot more complicated than that, right? There are acts across the board of people engaging in the situation that are horrific and wrong. And there are acts in the situation that are courageous, beautiful, and brilliant. Like I believe the police chief of Camden, New Jersey, marching in uniform with the protesters for what occurred. So it's like, what acts of unity can we find? How can we help ensure that our law enforcement officers, without them, we would have chaos in the world? How do we elevate their behavior? How do we bridge and influence love? How do we maintain order? How do we ensure that that the fundamental dynamics of racial bias that are so deeply woven into our nervous system and consciousness, and gender bias, are elevated and are solved more rapidly and effectively and optimally? Not only so people aren't murdered, which just occurred, so that people are treated even more fairly? How do we understand and respect that the interesting dynamic of the law causes us to treat all people the same gender-wise, and then we'll take relationship courses from brilliant and beautiful people in this very program who will say that men and women are different and there's different chemistry. Like how do we solve for these complexities without vilifying each other, and how do we treat them intellectually honestly? So what Unblinded is about intellectual honesty, raising the dialogue, recognition of suboptimals, the suppression of ego and the need to be right in service of what is fundamentally truthful and optimal. And so that's all. So as we think about this ecosystem merger and mastery Monday, my question for you is, how can you relate to challenges that are happening, like debates about Corona and opening, and debates about racial bias and violence and police and civil unrest and looting and burning and destroying and maybe recreating, and how all this works and fits together? But I think the first place is that we realize that the solutions aren't simple, right? They're not simple, but that also doesn't mean that we just avoid them. And how do we move away from blame and judgment of people to analysis of conduct in terms of where it sits on a scale of mastery? And what are the outcomes we're actually seeking to achieve, short-term and long-term, collectively as a society, regionally, geographically, industry, family, individually, just elevating the level of conversation. And I think like the markers of where it's suboptimal, or is when we start to hear things like, these people, like, and whether referring to these people as protesters, as Irish people, as African-American people, as Italian-American people, as police officers, as lawyers, as judges, right? When we start categorizing like these people, initial challenge, but I think there's a commensurate challenge, and I'm a Columbia University graduate. I was a political science major. I heard amazing amounts of discourse on every issue you could ever imagine, both inside the classroom and on the Columbia University campus, which considers itself to be a bastion of free thinking, a bastion of questioning the establishment dynamics. What sometimes I found, though, in that space was the inability for that dynamic to question itself, right? To question itself. So as we move forward in everything we're doing, and we're merging ecosystems and we're thinking about things, and we're encountering challenges, how do we elevate the dialogue consistently, but actually make progress? Because I think there's a lot of intellectual debate and discussion that occurs. How do we really have an impact and make progress? And I don't have those answers as I sit here, but I'm asking that question. And when I see opportunities to have a conversation with somebody wonderfully in my own family whose heart is really heavy for things that are occurring, and the College Football Hall of Fame being destroyed, like not the biggest deal in the world, somebody died, but it still doesn't mean nothing, right? And somebody's heart is heavy about that, thinks about like what was lost in that process too, right? Just elevating the conversation empathetically to look at it from all perspectives and sides, and then to begin from there. So Fernando, anything in the chat, anything that you want to share, like what's present for you out there, folks? But Fernando, what say you?
Yes. So what say I? I'd like to, be the voice of the people for a second. A lot of beautiful things in the chat. Sean, thank you for acknowledging, these important conversations. Hurt people. Forgiveness is a superpower. A lot of beautiful transitionary thoughts within the chat and ecosystem merging. I'd like to, definitely honor the work that we're doing here in the creation of the Purple Party and truly looking at the world through truth and integrity. There's a quote that really, summarizes the way I perceive this by Marcus Aurelius, which states, "If anyone can refute me, show me I am making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It is the truth I am after. And that is a commitment we have here at Unblinded, is that we're committed to the truth. And I love how you distinguish the generalizing terms of these people, y'all, they, that, you know, puts things into prisms and could have someone who may not be able to challenge those words, not have this influence mastery, fall into being on them. So I'd like to just hit a few points on the focus of the week, Sean, for our movement. Is there anything else you'd like to add on this very important conversation before I do?
I'll do that, and then I'll take us home with a couple quick, a roundup on what we're saying, but please go ahead.
Awesome. So this week, as I mentioned early on in the conversation, is the tipping point. And as we start off our week, you know, these morning huddles are a way for us to ground ourselves, goal set, be mindful of base camps. And we got an email the other day from someone who, you know, was unpleased with mastery and other dynamics because, in their words, if I knew that it was just going to be 10 by 10 and like network marketing, I would have not joined. And, you know, I'm simply want to acknowledge you for speaking your truth. And at the same time, I want everyone to know that we did start in the world of influence mastery, which is a beautiful gift that Sean has discovered and shared with us. It's in the process mastery of how he grew Cali Law, how we've reached, you know, beautiful levels of success in Unblinded in our early stages, is exactly what we're here to teach you by this 10 by 10 model. I know a lot of potential knowingness and other dynamics of fear, of people not accepting, not understanding, might be present as you begin to share this. And the truth is, it was present for me. I was, you know, really frustrated at times when I would speak to people and I'm like, why don't they get it? Why don't they get it? I get it. Why don't they get it? And Sean really anchored to me the other day, you know, patience. It takes time. We all feel the way we feel about what Sean is sharing. And the truth is, even if all of us right now were a 10, which we all know never happens, 9.999 in our level of mastery in this formula and influence, we wouldn't be able to change the political structure overnight. Even if everyone in our movement was a 9.99999. With that same mentality, I request of you, as you step into process mastery of the unblinded results formula, formerly known the Sean Cali results formula, integrity-based human influence, the process mastery dynamic of 10 by 10, patience, beginning to shift the way people understand and communicate is critical. So here's Basecamp for you. Who are you drafting on your 10? Have you been drafted yet? Have you set up your day for your Real Raw Open? Those are the 3 things I request of you this week. And I'll remind you throughout the week. Number 1, is your list of 10 ready? Number 2, have you been drafted into a 10 yet? Number 3, have you set up your Real Raw Open? And final, for me, if you did not watch the Unblinded Businesses, the UBA 10 by 10 Module 4, please do so. It is a beautiful recap and recreation of everything that's happened here. If you haven't watched anything, skip to that video, watch that first. That'll give you the roadmap for the 3 goals of the week, which is, do you have your 10? Have you been drafted? And have you set up your day for Real Raw Open? Back to you, Sean.
Yeah. So just quickly, and again, thank you for that beautiful feedback. I'd be happy to have like an open conversation to help close the educational gap on that and the understanding gap. Because nobody has to do anything, you know, that's a mastery otherwise. This is, to me, the greatest way to actualize ecosystem merging, speaking, sales meetings, sales. It's how I did it. And we didn't have to do all these other things, right? But this is the creation. There's no defensiveness, like the creation of giving you the best opportunity to make that stick. You could do it on your own, but I am sharing from my heart to yours that if your desire is to create acceleration in your money, time, and magic, then it's through ecosystem merging. Like that's been what we said the entire time. This is just a model for you to have massive support in the bringing forth of your ecosystem merging. You don't have to do it in a 10 by 10. You can call it, you know, Mary or Joe's, you know, if it's a male or female, Mary or Joe's model of ecosystem merger partnerships. So that's okay. And then just use everything we're talking about and do it on your own. I think there's a suboptimal dynamic that you're getting so much support from what we're doing Unblinded that it's better to do it with us than on your own, but you're completely free to do everything on your own. And so I'm not sure what that challenge is, and I'd love to talk to that person more, and to make sure that whatever we've suboptimally communicated and or suboptimal in the listening, who maybe doesn't understand, isn't seeing what they're not seeing, that there would be an amazing conversation. So this is not network marketing, because nobody pays to get in, and nobody has to even do anything for Unblinded in any way, shape, or form. So like, not network marketing. And what is present for me is a desire for clarity and education so people accelerate, period. Second, when it comes to the issues, and this is maybe a relevant segue, as soon as we start dropping into like these people or what this is and the conclusions about, people that are involved in personal development, men, women, different specific job functions, police, attorneys, political organizers, like those people, that's the challenge on the one hand. The challenge on the other hand is the ignoring of like different realities and getting into like, hey, like, so what do you believe in and what is present? And so as we think about our own ecosystem in the world, we do have to make some assessments of like what is, and that's a tension without making mistaken generalizations about others. And in our mastery of the balance of those two things is how we build our own ecosystem, merge ecosystems with others. And so there's no simplicity in it, but there is beautiful acceleration and movement forward, and that's what we're looking for on Ecosystem Merger Monday, Mastery Monday. Have a beautiful and amazing day. You're counting 6 things: ecosystem mergers, speaking engagements, the quality and quantity of both, sales meetings, sales, disposable income increase, contribution. That's what it's about. Have a beautiful, incredible day. Thanks.